Greetings, Darklings, from across the interwebs. It is once again I, the Duchess, Precious Ken, here for the Sounds and Shadows podcast. I have with me in studio today, or in a studio somewhere.
It's me, Katy. Hello. I'm wearing makeup instead of sunglasses.
I love it. I love it. The eyebrows look amazing. And I think it's important that we both did our makeup for today because we have a very special guest whose makeup is par none in the goth scene. But before we get to him, look at, I teased it. You can taste it on your tongue, but I didn't say who it is yet. I have a little unboxing, well, not an unboxing, an unbagging, because I received in the mail today, in addition to this lovely t-shirt of the Dread Wrists, they sent me this fancy little Dread Wrist tote bag full of buttons and goodies and stickers. Dread Wrists are from Texas and are doing some of the meanest, orneriest, rootin' tootin' doom industrial music in the West. I absolutely love it. Highly recommend. Go check out Dread Risk. So, without further ado, I'm extremely excited to introduce Dusty of the band Vision Video. Dusty, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I've been watching along with y'all for a long time, and finally the stars have aligned, and we're all here together. So I'm super.
This has
excited.
been a long time coming. We've been talking about doing this forever, and then you had a tour come up, and we kind of want to wait until you get back. You had this going. You're like me. You always have 10,000 irons in the fire. A lot going.
Yeah. I think I'm like this year. This is the year of me actively reducing the irons.
Ooh.
Because I only need a couple, and I have way too many. But like I'm really notoriously bad at like holding on to things that I like shouldn't hold on to, I guess. But like yeah, I mean I guess that's kind of the central narrative of my life is like I just wish I had one day where I could just like do nothing. But
yeah, you're like an activity hoarder. You hoard things that you need to get done and just keep them around. I like that.
Yeah. My problem is that I have like really bad like FOMO. Like I want to just do everything.
Yeah.
And when you want to do everything, you can't do everything, but you try, and experience is kind of the flavor of life for me, and that's what like I guess motivates me to do a lot of things is to experience things, and unfortunately that just sort of puts your personal life by the wayside. So yeah, this year's gonna be good. I'm excited to have like crazier things in some regards and then less crazy things in other regards.
Well, let's make a secret pact, you and I, that we're both going to make me time in the rest of 2022. Swear it.
I swear that I will do my best. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Yes, 100%. We're going to do it. This is going to be a better year than the previous two, which were trash. So in some ways.
So let's get started I feel like you erupted onto the scene recently. Just, I mean, your popularity, people getting to know you, has just happened really fast and furious, and I love it. And tell me a little bit about how Vision Video started, because it's an interesting story, because you started out doing something pretty different not that long ago. And this was a pretty bold transition and a courageous choice that really paid off for all of us. So tell me the tale.
Sure, yeah. I'll try to keep it as like brevity filled as I can, but because it can get a little. I'm super talkative, and I'm sorry if I just go off on tangents. But
I think it'd be wrong for me to start casting stones at people for that at this point, Dusty.
Yeah, I could tell. I mean, kindred spirits, But so yeah, I guess it all kind of started when I left the military, more or less, because I was at this place. We'd come back from Afghanistan. I was in Germany. And I was just like sort of done with the military. I was an infantry officer. I sort of ended my platoon time, which is sort of the best time of being an infantry officer, because you have like these 30 soldiers, and we were a family. We loved each other. Everybody came home. It was good in that regard. But I was just done. I was really disenfranchised by the way that the whole thing works, because it's like kind of like a business. It's just, war has nothing to do with the reason that they're telling you that we need to be at a war. It has everything to do with selling arms and sort of perpetuating the industry that surrounds warfare. And I was like,
Sure.
I've been in the military for quite a long time at that point. So I got out. I like decided to go into the reserve component for a couple years, and fortunately that's finally done. But I was kind of like at a weird crossroads, because I was in Germany and I thought about, okay, well, I could go to Berlin because I'm actually German. I speak German. And I was like, well, I could go anywhere. But it really just hit me like, go back to Athens and follow your passion in life, which is like music.
Sure.
And I didn't really know what that meant. I just know, like, I went to college here in Athens at UGA, and Athens has this like really wonderful music scene. As I'm sure you all know, like REM, B-52s, Pylon, and then there's a bunch of other stuff too, like modern day that's been happening. The hip hop scene is really amazing here. We've got some other post-punk and goth acts here, like Vinkus and Tears for the Dying, Feather Trade, amongst others. But
I know Tears
so
for the
anyway,
Dying. Love them.
yeah, Adria is a very close
Adria's
friend of
awesome.
mine. She is
She's
such
amazing.
a sweet soul. But yeah, so I mean, it all just became very apparent to me. It's like, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to grad school, go start getting into that to do like
Sure.
social work or something. And I was home for a year. I got my grad school application accepted, and the day that I got accepted to grad school, I was bartending full time, and this guy came in. He was a regular, really, really nice guy, and he was a firefighter, and I was like, it's just me and him, and I was like, what's that like, And he's like, oh well, it's the best job in the world. Like, all you do is help people, and it's awesome, like every day, and you just like get to do physical crazy stuff, and you like literally save people's lives, and it's nuts.
It's like social work and a stuntman at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a great way of putting it, actually. So I got into that, and I got hired like almost immediately, which was so weird to me, because there's usually like really long wait lists,
Yeah.
but they were just they really need people, and they still need people. So while I was going through the training of that, I started to dig my heels into the music thing, and I was like, I was still bartending part time, and Jason, our drummer, was a bar back at this music venue here in Athens called the Georgia Theater, which is like a really awesome music venue. And I had been posting like stuff on Facebook. It was just like, here's a riff, whatever this is. Like, I don't even, I mean, it was just silly in retrospect, but it was kind of cool, because Jason was like, man, I really love that post-punk riff that you wrote. And he's like, he plays in a band called She He He, and they're like really awesome, like 70s style jet punk.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, kind of like, it's just like, it's got this vintage like early punk rock sound that's just awesome.
New York Dolls-ish kind of vibe, or
Yeah, a little bit of like the Ramones, but if it was
Yeah.
like woman fronted, which
Ooh,
is
okay.
awesome. Yeah,
Very cool.
She He is amazing. I mean, he's a phenomenal drummer. So he was like, "Hey, come on over sometime. Let's start. I'll just play some
See what happens,
backing
yeah.
drums." Yeah, and then before we knew it, Dan Geller, who was in like some really early synth pop acts in the early 2000s, like I Am the World Trade Center. He was in this sort of like pop, like sort of post-punk revival band called The Agenda. That was like, they sort of went big and then burned out real fast.
Good
But
band.
he was this sort of very esteemed musician. I actually used to go, when I was like 17, 18, I used to sneak into his shows here at Go Bar, because I was too young to get in. And I would like crawl along the hedge line into the Go Bar.
We have
really
to
famous.
let him in. He's our mic stand operator technician. We had some people like that. We were getting into the bar,
Yeah, sometimes I got in, sometimes I got caught. It was a crapshoot, but it was always fun. But anyway, so Dan saw the stuff that we were posting. He was like, I want to be in this band, whatever the band is going to be. I want to do bass. So he joined in, And then we settled on the name Vision Video because Vision Video was a old video store that was here from the mid 80s till about 2017, 16, something like that.
Yeah.
They lasted quite a while into the
I remember
digital.
we had one in town for a hot minute.
Yeah, it was just like this wonderful sort of college kid run amazing video store. They had all the cult stuff. So we kind of paid homage to our love of Athens because we all kind of grew up. We are all young adults here. And then Emily joined in when we were looking for a keyboard player. And Emily was sort of a mutual friend with this girl that I had been dating. And she's like, "You're an idiot. Like, Emily's classically trained in piano. Like, why don't you just have her come in?" But it was crazy because she had never played in a band. She had never written her own music. She was like competitive pianist.
Yeah.
So she would just play like Mozart. Like, you could throw Mozart in front of her and that girl will just eat it alive. And I'm like, God damn. Like, it's jarring.
I love to hear stuff like that because to me, a band, it's so important to have the pieces, the personalities, especially these days when, look, to be in a band now, you're not just playing music. You know, you have to have a legal analyst, someone who works with the club, someone who runs social media, someone who, you wear a lot of hats. And so those personalities are such a big factor. And I love kind of hearing that because it is one of the archetypes, like this just musician, someone who came from like a classical background, somebody, you know, that has more like punk rock edge energy, somebody that, you know, it takes all those parts. And so it's cool to hear that you assembled organically on your own all those pieces to form a perfect Voltron.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, for better or for worse, we've all kind of come together and from very different places, and we're all actually different ages as well, which I think helps. In a weird way, because Emily's 25. Sure. Or actually, she just turned 30 or 26. I'm 35. I'll be 36 this year. And then Jason and Dan are in their late 40s. So it's kind of a bunch of different people from different backgrounds, and you know, different places in life. But we're all really committed to Vision Video. Yeah, you know, and I guess you know, moving forward from that point, we had started to play a few shows and we had started to get stuff out there. We had written most of what would become Inked in Red. And then the pandemic happened, and that was a weird time for me because I'm a medic, so I'm a paramedic and a firefighter. So I would go on one shift on the ambulance, one on the engine, and I was just like constantly exposed to COVID, like. You know, and I still am pretty regularly, not as much now. It's pretty subsided.
But as the first responder, obviously, you're right on the front lines of it.
You're in it, yeah. And so the first year pre-vaccine, I mean, I just like totally sequestered myself away from everybody, save for a couple, you know, small things where I just go out with Emily because like here in Georgia, we never closed down at all. So like she never got unemployment. She had to keep bartending through the whole thing. So I go see her because it's like, well, I mean, it was just like, we're always in this, like we're constantly around it. But other than that, I just full on, just every day I'd come home and I would be so stressed out. And that's when I got into like TikTok and Instagram and just, you know, getting the music out there. And I had no concept. Like I get asked very regularly, like, what's the trick? Like, and I don't know. I mean, the trick is you got to put stuff out a lot, and you got to put stuff out that like means something to you, and hopefully that resonates. And I guess, you know, it did. And I'm grateful that it did. You know, there's like, I know in like 10 years from now, I'm going to look back and be like I'm going to watch some of the stuff that's like forever on the internet now. And I'm just going to be like, dude,
did I do that? Yeah.
What the fuck was I thinking? I mean, I guess I do that almost every day. Like today I posted.
I do know what you mean, like for sure. And I think to your point about the trick, a lot of times people think that, yes, the outlet of the internet or YouTube or TikTok or these things has come along and definitely changed the game.
Yeah.
But in terms of is there some kind of magic switch or a trick or a way to do that lightning in the bottle? People forget that it was always this way. You could go back to the Beatles, the Stones, the Ramones, like you talked about, whoever, David Bowie. Look, there was something about that person that people wanted to follow, that they wanted to believe in, that they saw what was happening on stage and they said to themselves, I want to associate myself with that. Right. So I'm going to put on the t-shirt. I'm going to go to the show. And that predated TikTok or YouTube or whatnot. Now, does it now allow you much more access with the people that are into your band and to have that personal connection with them? Decidedly. And the game has changed and it's different, but it isn't 100% different. It's just a evolution, I think, in a lot of ways. And that's what I think not everybody always sees or thinks about when it comes to how you promote yourself as a band.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, like I've been thinking about this a lot lately. There's a lot of like social media gurus out there, especially on TikTok. Like you'll just be like flipping through and there'll be a guy and he'll be like, do you want to build a great following? You got to be authentic. And it's just like, okay.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And it's
Are you, guy? Are you?
10 things that'll make you more authentic. And I'm like, you know, I mean, but in a way though, like he's not wrong. It's like, oh, what's that line from The Big Lebowski's? Like, you're not wrong. You're just an asshole. Like, that's kind of how I feel about all those like people that say that shit, but it is kind of true. Like
you do need to be authentic. I just don't know if that's the guy to tell you how to do it.
I think the better term for it is to be vulnerable, because vulnerability, when you, which is a part of authenticity, or cooperative with that notion. I think vulnerability is fucking terrifying, because opening your life to be vulnerable allows for like pretty extreme degrees of like hatred, and like we got a lot.
People get intense about that stuff, especially with the goth scene, and that's what I was going to say. To me, what drew both in your music but in your early on TikTok videos, I remember some of the first ones I saw were where you would be in your fireman outfit then you try and change out of it into your goth gear in like 30 seconds or something. And but what it is goth has always been both taking itself way too seriously, and also you have to laugh at yourself, and it's riding that razor wire in between those two things. And to me, that's what you pulled off in the authenticity, is that look, you really know the music, you really know the bands, you really know the look, but also you get that that's kind of silly as fuck sometimes. And like telling that to other people, to tell them it's okay to laugh at this because it is cheesy as hell at its core. It doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean we don't feel that. But come on, get bat cupcakes, okay? I mean, that shit's funny.
Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely nailed that notion, and I'm a big proponent of that. You know, and I've always tried to model everything that I do, like my stage presence and kind of our tongue-in-cheek nature. I straight up yanked that from the Cramps. Just straight up, Lux Interior is like my hero. Like, especially in stage presence, you know, that's something that I, you know, when I was sort of building who I want to be on stage, that was somebody that I took a lot from, because we take from every performer takes from something. So I
always see a lot of Dave Vanian in you, and like the Damned. That's to me when I see you guys, I think of the Damned.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think I took a lot more from stage performance and presence from punk rock than I did from like straight up goth, into the late 80s.
Well, Andrew takes himself pretty seriously.
Yes, he does. I remember seeing them when I was 18 and he like literally got into like a verbal argument with somebody in the crowd about some it was like literally some goth related thing. He's like, we don't talk about that here, blah blah blah. And it was just like, I was just like, what the hell is going on? Because that was like before the internet was like pervasive, and so I had no idea that there was this like, oh, like they don't consider themselves like a goth band.
No.
So he was very like upset, and I was like, Jesus, this is fucking weird, man. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, if you're gonna be part of like the goth subculture or like post-punk realm or whatever, you know, like anything that's like in this kind of sphere, because it encompasses so many different things. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be this like layer of levity that you have to it, because otherwise, you know, you either just become like a insufferable gatekeeper on stuff that doesn't matter, that they're
Sure.
like, you know, one of the things I always tell people when I go to a club, or it's almost never at a club, but it's always online, really, where people are like, well, that's not really goth, and I'm like, did you learn that from the Goth High Abiding Council? Like, was that
Right.
written down in like some ancient tome where, like, you know, Robert
Haven't you
Smith
seen
and-
my goth degree behind me? I
Yeah.
went to 8 years to Dr. Goth school.
Exactly. Like, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, culture, especially subculture, is going to dictate itself by what is pervasive in that culture.
Yeah.
So things change, like, and I want things to change. Like, I love like music from 1978 to like 1989
Yes.
is
Love it.
it's amazing, but like I'm way more excited and interested about what's happening right now than I ever was about anything from that time, because
Same.
there's so much insane talent right now, and it's just like, you know, it's just being sort of, it's being shown, but everybody's still holding on to this like classic stuff, and I'm like, look, you know, that like those guys and girls are not gonna play music forever. Most of them are gonna stop pretty soon,
Yeah.
because they're all in their 60s.
Mhm.
There's a whole world of musicians that are making insanely talented stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, it like within that concept is that things are going to change. Things are going to be a little different, and that's fine. Like, it can be different, you know, like, just it bothers me so much when people get so like wrapped around the wheel of like, well, it doesn't sound like Bauhaus, and it doesn't sound like the Chameleons, and it doesn't sound like, you know.
Do you guys think that you get some kind of a pension or a check by the amount of years you've had in the scene? Because you don't. I can tell you
wish.
definitively that check is not on its way.
Yeah, it must have gotten lost in the mail somewhere. You know.
So I hogged you there. You and I are both talkers, Dusty.
Yes.
We got good.
Yeah.
But I want to give Katy a chance to jump in with a couple of questions here
Yeah.
while I take a breath.
Yes, please.
Okay, so when it comes to your presence on TikTok and stuff, you've kind of created this entire community of goths who like to joke around in dad joke form. Have you received any dad jokes from your audience that you thought was like the best joke ever?
Oh man, somebody did say something. I also have the worst memory of all time, so I might have to think on that one. But yeah, for sure, there have been like a couple times. Like, that's the nice thing about like the goth dad joke thing, is like every time I've like blown a string on stage, it's like I'm like, well, guess what? It's time for some horrible goth dad jokes while I fix this, or like get my other guitar. And there's definitely been a couple, but yeah, my brain is like a giant ball of like rotten Swiss cheese. So let me think on that. But for sure, there have been like a couple times where I've been like doubled over in laughter because it's something somebody said in the audience. And there was one in New York, and I can't remember what it was, but yeah, let me think on that one, because it'll come to me. It'll come to me, I hope.
So this is kind of a more like heavy question, but
Yeah.
with your experience in like the military, songs like "This Land Is My Land" by Woody Guthrie and stuff have this response from his audience of like almost this patriotic theme and stuff. And I know that you do talk about some of the themes of war and stuff in your music, but has there ever been a song that you felt the audience may have like misconstrued as like a positive message about like love, or something where really it was like a protest song?
From our songs, I don't think anybody's ever misconstrued our point. Uh, Although there is a funny story about organized murder. So we did this session in Chicago. It's Audio Tree Live, which is this like fabulous studio session where what they do is you go in and it's this like multi-million-dollar studio. It's really terrifying because they get you on all these like crazy nice cameras, and there's like 5 camera operators, and everything is backlined. You just bring like your guitars, and they literally mix and engineer your performance, and it gets shot out live on YouTube. And then what they do is they go back retroactively and they finish it, they master it, and then they cut like a live record basically. And that goes out on like Spotify, and it goes out on all the streaming bullshit. But anyway, so I didn't hear this happen, but this was sort of relayed to us by our friend who was in the booth. And so we played Organized Murder, and I prefaced it in the video. You can actually watch it on YouTube. I like to talk about war and stuff like that. But one of the girls in the engineering booth who worked for Audio Tree, and this is like a straight honest mistake, but I guess she'd been listening, and she turned to our friends who were in the studio booth, and she goes, "In the chorus, is he saying all lives matter?" And I was like, and they told me that, and I was like, no, that is completely contrary to the spirit of the song. But yeah, nobody's ever, I guess, like been like conceived of anything that I've written as something that would be like, I guess, pro-war or like pro-military or anything like that. And I'm not, I'm not like anti-military. I think, I mean, it's obviously like, I think it's hard to argue that you can't have a military, because that would be kind of insane for any country that is a larger country to do. And so it's a necessary evil for sure, but in this country, it's just so recklessly used for outright lies, and that's like the problem, is like you build an industry around something, it has to be used or abandoned, and we have decided to use it. So I think I've been pretty outspoken, I hope, in my messaging about how I feel about it, because it's not okay. I mean, I think that war is it's just the most evil thing possible as an institution. Even if it's just, it's still evil. So
I mean, really and truly. And you have had the opportunity recently to really go and spread your message on the road and stuff. Do you have any cool stories from your recent tour?
yeah, let's see. So the one that comes to mind is actually not from this tour, but it's from the last one in September. It's in regards to, I guess, this subject. I had we played our last show in the September October tour in Memphis, and we were about to come home, and it's like, everybody's tired, and it's just kind of like, all right, like one more, like let's have a great time, and then we go home, and it's done. But I wasn't gussied up or anything. I was just like in a t-shirt, like no makeup, just like we just loaded in, and they kind of opened the doors at the venue a little early. And it's totally cool with me. But this woman came up to me, and she's like, "Hey, I don't want to bother you, but I was wondering if I could just talk to you for a minute." And I was like, "Yeah, of course, So she basically told me, like, my brother was a Marine in Iraq, and he had really, really intense post-traumatic stress disorder when he came home. And she said, unfortunately, a few years after he came home, he ended up taking his own life, because he couldn't live with it. And she basically told me, like, listening to your record really helped me understand him. And that was one of those moments where I was like, this is exactly why I'm doing this. Like, this is, for everything about this is right here. Because, I think, when you're looking at being a musician and what it takes to sustain yourself, not even be like successful and make good money, but just sustain yourself.
Sure.
In order to get to that level, you have to work so fucking hard. And if you're doing this stuff for reasons that are hollow, or if you're just basically looking to make money and party, like, this is not a good thing to go into. No. I can go out and listen to good music any night of the week here in Athens. I can go out and have a couple beers and like meet with friends and love life. But this project and this band facilitates this incredible ability for me to transmute a message through like literal movement of air and sonic vibration to convey intense and very real and very complicated emotions that I think a lot of people feel but can't really put their finger on how to explain that. And so I think that's something that has really motivated me and just really made me feel fulfilled. No matter where we go and where Vision Video ends up or where I end up, I will always be able to look back at a number of moments. I mean, that's just one, but there have been so many similar to that, not just military, but in so many regards of life, where I've really connected with people. And that's, to me, that's the beauty of music. And that's like why it's so powerful and why it's worth the insane amount of work that it takes.
No, that's beautiful, man. That's really, really cool. Going along with tour, I want to ask a follow-up real quick. And it's because, I'm a big foodie. When you're out traveling around the road or whatever, what's the coolest spot that you found you didn't know anything about, you'd never heard of before to eat? And what did you get there?
So the best thing that I've eaten, and there's a lot, because I like to eat. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is next to the East Room in Tennessee, there is a really, really badass vegetarian and vegan restaurant called the Beehive. And Jason in the band's a vegan. I'm vegetarian, and nice. The other two are carnivores. But Jason and I went into the Beehive right before the show because we were like starving. Yeah. And we ate these, like, it was like 10 at night, but we ate these like breakfast burritos, and it was, they have this like homemade vegan chorizo that was just like, how is this real? Like, it was, I was like, this has to be real meat. And they're like, no, I swear to God. They were like, that's our whole thing. And I was like, holy shit, man.
I had a place in Boston that was like that. It was like a 50s style diner. That was their shtick over by Harvard. And we went in there, and I did the same thing. Like, I got vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian, but Colin in my band and Meyer. And so I ordered a vegetarian burger there. I'm like, there is no effing way this isn't a hamburger and a milkshake. It was a vegan milkshake. And I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah. There's just some really outstanding stuff in the vegetarian and vegan world. And it's like kind of weird because like Athens is like a really progressive sort of liberal place. And there's a lot of like vegetarians and vegans here, but we have like one restaurant that's like vegetarian straight up, and it's good. It's like, I hope they don't ever see this because I like going in there. It's good. It's just nothing like mind blowing. And like when you go to places like LA or like San Diego, San Francisco, I mean, it was like every other place was like,
they're doing like art out there. Like, it's amazing. Like what they put together. Yeah.
Oh, Doomie's in LA is really cool. There's this place, Doomie's. It's like vegan junk food. So it's like burgers, fried chicken sandwiches, milkshakes, like everything's vegan, Oh man, yeah, I could feel my arteries like closing in when I ate there, but it was really good. It was
They
really
probably weren't though, because the cheese wasn't real.
yeah,
So, your arteries are probably fine.
yeah. I hope so.
Katie, you got one
Okay,
more?
I do. I need to know, do you have any pets?
Oh yeah, I have 3 cats. I have 2 indoor cats and one mostly outdoor. He comes in at night, and I love them. I love them. You might have heard my song about cats.
There is. I was getting new song coming out. Tell us about your newest single.
So we released "I Love Cats" on Bandcamp a few weeks ago, and that was cool because we're giving 30% of our proceeds to Four Paws International, which does a lot of work with animals in conflict zones and getting them out. So they're doing a lot of work in Ukraine right now. But they do a bunch of sort of philanthropic work with animals all over the world, and they're just a really wonderful organization. But actually, our newest single is out tomorrow or tonight at midnight, and that is a cover of The Cure's "Pictures of You."
Yes.
We play that pretty regularly live. It kind of started out as just like we all were just like building our sets coming out of the pandemic, and it's like, well, what's a really great song that it's just classically loved and something that kind of brings people together, and it kind of, I think Emily and I like almost simultaneously were like, "Pictures of You" by The Cure, and we were like, oh shit, like yeah, I was just thinking that. And we kind of built it similarly structured. It's not one of those covers where we do something totally different.
Sure.
But we do it really well, and we do it with our voice. We do it the Vision video way. It's a very sweet and beautiful song, and I think that's one of those songs that just always when I hear it, it really reminds me of like why I love music so much, because it has this deeply nostalgic, wistful emotion to it. But it's also just like a masterclass in like simplicity, and how simplicity can be like the most beautiful thing ever, because everything about that song is actually pretty damn easy. There's really nothing about it that's technically insane, which is good because I'm not the greatest guitar player in the world. So, but it's one of those songs where when you play it, and you play it with emotion, and you play it with passion, it comes out differently than when you just play it sort of like to play it.
And I mean, everything on Disintegration, I mean, that's one of the, to me, the thing that The Cure really captured is part of, I don't know, the goth ethos, to me, is romanticism. And that album in particular epitomizes to me romantic goth. Like it just, the guitars, the sound, the keyboards, Robert's voice, all of it just, it's all so genuine in its kind of romance from afar, like requited love. It just nails that. So
and I like, I mean, one of the reasons why I really love The Cure is that lyrically, all of my favorite bands do this. They write songs where you think you know what it's about, but it could be about a number of things.
Sure.
And that song is definitely, I mean, that song could be about somebody that has died.
Right.
Just as much as it could be about somebody that has left, or that a relationship didn't work out. And I love those songs where it becomes your own story. And I try to do that. I don't always succeed, but I try to write music like that, because I think that's another important aspect of music is the universality to the messaging. It can be, you can have a narrative and you can have a central concept, but I like to listen to music that lets your mind wander and
well, like that story you told earlier about the woman who approached you. Your song became what she needed in that moment. That might have not been word for word what you were trying to say with it, but it was true for her, and it was what she needed to hear, and that's what you put out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. And that's just a beautiful thing of music. It's really, really powerful.
I got you on a tangent. And you never told the cats' names and what they look like to Katy, and she's got it here.
Oh yeah, so Marshmallow is a white cat. He's just straight white with he has heterochromia, so he has a blue and a yellow eye. He's very vocal. I have Lieutenant Ellen Ripley, who is
So
she's just,
awesome.
she's such a great cat. She's a Seal Point mix with Lynx, I think. And she's really super vocal. She's very expressive. She's always like sitting near me and like screaming at me. And
Does she hunt aliens?
oh yeah, this house has been alien free since I had her. So I mean, the proof's in the pudding, obviously. But and then so his full name is König Grauwald von Liechtenstein, which means King Grey Forest of Liechtenstein in German. And he is my first cat back from the army anyway. My first cat as an adult, really.
Mm-hmm.
He is very regal. He's very he loves to rule his domain outside of my house. And then at night when he's done bidding to his peasants, which are the other, there's like a big feral colony around here, and he keeps them
receives
all in
their
line.
tribute.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and he comes in at night, and he just like, he's very sweet though. He's very like, he runs this house. I'm just a player on his stage. So
That's awesome. So the next thing I want to jump in here is, like I said, you guys have really had a lot happen for you quickly and get a lot of attention this way. But if we do an interview with you a year from now, next year, at the end of 2023,
yeah,
what is your vision? What do you want to be talking about? Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, I mean, so we just finished our next record. It's being mixed right now, and that's again with Tom Ashton of the March Violets, who is also
Awesome.
he's our touring bass player right now, and he did write some of the bass lines with Dan on this next record.
Wow.
We just actually yesterday we spent about 8 hours just mixing, and it's a different record. It's very different. It's a lot better, I think. I honestly believe it's a much better record. The production value is a lot higher. We know who we are.
Yeah.
And I think when we were writing the first record, it was a lot of like, well, what about this? Like, what about this?
Yeah.
We also wrote a lot of their parts. I kind of brought a lot of the songs for this next record to the band because we were all really busy this year. And we kind of wrote a lot of it in the studio, as far as like the drums, the bass lines, and then Emily's keys. We just spent a lot of time just like sitting in the room in the studio and just kind of experimenting. And I think that actually works really well for us. But honestly, there's some big changes happening in my life very soon. I am leaving the fire department pretty soon to do this full time. Yeah,
That's
and
exciting, but also scary because I know how much that means
God.
to you.
Yeah, I'm completely fucking horrified. No, I'm excited and I'm terrified because I love that job. I mean, every day I got to work tomorrow, and there's essentially never a day that I get up and go, oh fuck this, like I don't want to do this. It's very rare. And I love helping people in a meaningful way, and I know for a fact that there's going to be a part of my life that feels a little missing for a while, I think. But I also take a lot of solace in those moments, like with that woman in Memphis, where I know that like I'm helping people in a different way, I think, and I'm helping myself now not most importantly, but importantly. And I mean, I've spent 15 years working in service, and I mean, financially, I'm a little scared. I've saved a good amount of money up to pad this time, but the way that I looked at this next few months is like, I'm going all in on this thing, and I'm really going to believe in it because I do believe in it, and I do believe in this next record. I think is something worth. If we had written a record and and I didn't have the feelings that I do have for this record, there's no way in hell I'd be doing what I'm about to do.
Sure.
There's no chance. But I believe that what we made is something genuinely special, and it's not because of me. It's because of all of us.
Yeah.
It's because 5 people got together in a room that are all truly talented, and we made something really unique and beautiful, and I'm beyond excited to share it with the world. But I do think that, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't give this project, this thing, my full committed attention.
Yeah.
And you know, the nice thing is like in a year or 2 years, if I am like, wow, I have -$5, I can just go right back to the fire department.
No,
you know.
I mean, like the courage to try it, and that's incredible. And I mean, I will say, look, at doing Sounds and Shadows and whatnot, I don't know if you know this, but I listen to a lot.
Oh yeah, I know.
and I will tell you, I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I feel like I can see it when somebody has that something else. And you guys have that energy. You have that chance, that ability. And so I'm excited for you on this. The last little follow-up question of that I did want to ask, though, is like being in the military, or as I've heard too, a firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
That is a tight-knit place. It really is a house for a reason, that you are jammed in there living with these 12, 10 other people, night and day, cooking meals together, so on and so forth. Does your house support you and excited for this, or are they like, Dusty, you're being crazy, you're talking crazy talk right now, or are they excited for you?
Almost unanimously. There aren't people who are like against what I'm doing anymore.
Sure,
I
but
think
just don't
initially,
get it, maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a handful of people who are like, whatever he's doing, man. Like, not to be like the Southern voice, but they're
brother.
They're like, it's all the yokels. They're like,
sure,
well, man, you do you, I'm gonna do me. And
sure,
we'll just leave it at that. There's a couple of those guys, and like, cool, like that's fine. Like that's a wonderful.
Hey,
sentiment,
not everybody has to be 100% into everything you're into.
Yeah, but there is a overwhelming amount of support from my firehouse right now. Like I kind of told everybody like roughly when I'll be leaving, and everybody was like, "That's awesome, man!
Go
like,
live the dream."
Yeah, like they're like, "You're doing it. Like go do it." And
awesome.
And yeah, so you know, you definitely have to be tight knit in those places, and that's another thing that's exciting though, is that we are all very close in the band.
Yeah.
And you cannot be in a van with 3 other people for a month or more. Yeah. And all of everything that comes out of it's like, it's so intimate in a very weird way. And, you know, we've done it twice now. We've gone on pretty significant tours twice now. This last tour, we drove 11,000 miles together, which was unbelievable. Yeah, it was like we got home. Everybody was like sore. Like we were all like, ugh. Like I was like, I mean, I'm just getting older too, and it just like my body just hates me all the time. But like, I mean, everybody was just like, damn, dude, I'm like exhausted. But I mean, it was like even driving that 12 hours back from Philly to Athens. If somebody had called us like 8 hours into that drive and been like, hey, real quick, there's a show in Tennessee tonight. They said, come play it right now. We would have been like, let's do it 100%. Because that's awesome. That love is unified throughout the group and for what we do. And that's a really exceedingly rare thing. And that's what I'll say to a lot of younger people or people that are getting into this stuff. It's like, yeah, you got to find people that have skill, you know, to be in your band, but you got to find people that you love. That's the most important thing. If you don't love each other, you're going to hate each other by the end of it, because you won't want to see, like, even with the love, you're going to get out of that van and be like, all right, I don't want to see you for like a week. Like, you know, and it's fine. Like that's natural and healthy. But if you don't love each other, by the time that you get out of that van after a month, you're gonna be like, don't ever fucking talk to me again.
Well, and like you said too, I mean, the power of music, but that also goes into communication and the effect it can have on two, three, four people playing it together. Like when
Yeah.
you're talking about something that emotional, that charged up, you got to be able to put your ego in the back seat. You got to be able to talk to somebody eye to eye, and
Yes.
or you will, like you said, smash Rickenbacker over their fucking head. Like that is
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you know all too well. It's like it's such an overlooked aspect because everybody's like, oh, well, we need skilled people that like the same stuff. Like, yeah, okay, but like, you know, what like is your spiritual goal for this thing in alignment?
Yeah.
Are y'all in it for the right reasons? Because again, it becomes unpalatable because you play attendance and you're like, you know, but you got to, if you have the love, it doesn't matter if it's 5 people or 50,000 people. You put on the same show and everybody in the band. There's this moment. Have you ever seen the movie Green Room?
Yeah, about football, right?
No, it is not about football.
All right, so Green Room is a movie about these punk rock kids, and they are in a van, the old like 80s van, and they are going from gig to gig, and they end up playing like they sort of get lied to by this promoter, and he's like, well, I can get you the show. It's at a Mexican restaurant, and they'll pay you in food. And they're like trying to get home to like DC or something, but they don't have enough money to get gas. So the promoter feels bad, and he's like, let me get you this gig if you don't mind playing with some skins around. So they end up playing at this like sort of neo-Nazi club,
Nice.
and they're like they open with like Nazi punks fuck off. So anyway, I don't want to ruin the movie, but there's this amazing scene after they play that where everybody's like fuck you, and they're like this one's an original, and they go into it and it's like it's hard, and even like the skins are like okay, this is pretty cool, but like they're playing and it goes into this like slow motion and this like like Brian Eno-esque ethereal music is playing, and they're all like sweating and they're just like beating the shit out of their instruments, and they're all like kind of looking at each other, and I feel like that happens every fucking time I play with these musicians. Like there's this beautiful moment where the whole world just disappears and you just like you go into this pipeline of just pure energy and commitment and devotion to this thing that you love. And I feel like that movie nailed that concept. And that's like, that to me is like the thing that keeps you going, keeps you motivated. I don't really remember why I started talking about this, but it just reminded me of that. Whatever it was.
Yeah, we were talking about how you have to have that love between you as a band to be able to do it. And I know what you mean. Like, you know, Colin and I look at each other, we lock eyes, we start singing about ninjas and ass play, like, and we just know I'm there with you, man.
Yeah.
I want to use that samurai sword. I get it. Katy, do you have a parting shot here before I ask the final question and we spin out?
I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I'm a huge fan of yours. I was introduced to your music through your TikTok, and I've been waiting for this day for a long, long time.
Awesome.
It's truly a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you. If you had told me 2 years and some change ago that I'd be doing stuff on TikTok, I would have been like, what? But
what is TikTok?
I know, seriously, I would have been like, what even is that? But thank you. It means a lot to me. I think the work that y'all do is really valuable. People like the two of you are extraordinarily underrated because of your importance to maintaining music awareness in a scene that often gets appropriated for its aesthetic, which is not a bad thing, but
looking goth is cool. What else?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to look great. It's timeless. It's wonderful. But we've got to have people who are passionate about informing other people about music, and y'all have done a really phenomenal job. And ever since I discovered your platform, I was like, wow, these people are doing really wonderful things for a scene, and it's a thankless job. So I hope my gratitude is
Well,
conveyed
you did
properly.
just thank me, so it's not thankless
There you go,
anymore,
there
and
you
I
go.
appreciate that.
You have one thank.
No, we get a lot of thanks, and
Yeah,
I
I
really
know.
appreciate it all the time. But no, I really appreciate that, man. And for real, I'm excited for you guys and where you're going. The last thing before we spin out, and I think that we'll spin out. Usually, I ask you what song to do, but I think we have to do the pictures of you. We'll just put that up for the interview so we can
Cool.
play that for everybody and they can hear it. But
Awesome.
I'm going to give you did this a little bit earlier for Athens, but we're a music review page, and I like to ask, what are you listening to? Give me 3 quick hits of
Okay.
new music that's getting you fired up.
Yeah. So Corinne. I'm
Corin-
not sure.
They're just
they
gorgeous
are-
on every level.
Yeah.
I love it all. I love it all.
I think Morgie's doing something gorgeous. I mean, the vocals, the lyrics. There's something so achingly heartbroken about every single song, and I'm just like
Dark
I'm
and
obsessed.
pastel
I'm
and
obsessed,
dreamlike and oh
Yeah, but the instrumentation is gorgeous as well. House of Harm is doing some really incredible stuff. Their latest release, the single escapes me right again, Swiss Cheese Brain, but their last record is just like absolutely unskippable, every single song. And then I think my favorite band, without a doubt, right now of sort of modern day goth and post punk, and even outside of goth and punk, just one of my favorite bands right now, just period, because I do like a lot of different kinds of music, is without a doubt Secret Shame. They came here to Athens. It was a fucking awesome show. Nox Novacula played. They headlined. It was them, Secret Shame, and Tears for the Dying. An incredible just Tuesday night. It was awesome. But the Secret Shame played some cuts off of their new record, some stuff that's not released, and I was blown away at how good they have a song
They're
coming
so
out
good.
eventually called Zero. It'll be on their next record, and it's like one of the best songs I think I've ever heard. Like, I mean, just the emotion that was conveyed in the live performance. So I can only imagine, all their studio stuff is so tight. It's just so well produced. And they stayed here at my house, and we had some wine and calzones, and it was a wonderful night. And I love them. They're just sweet people.
We
They're
might
just
have
like-
some exciting Secret Shame news coming up soon.
Oh, cool. Well, there
Yeah.
you go. I'll keep my eyes open then.
It's been a real pleasure. It's great talking to you, Dusty. I can't wait until, and you know what? The next time you're out on tour, you gotta get up here close to, either whether you get through Kalamazoo, but Chicago, Detroit, I'll make sure that I make it. I'm trying to remember what happened.
Yeah.
Like, you played up in Smalls, and I really wanted to get out there, and something came up. But
Yeah.
I will make sure to do that, and I will cook a delicious vegetarian meal for you, so you don't have to eat road grease all the time.
Tomorrow, as the single is being released, and it's really just sort of a standalone single.
Mhm.
It's not going to be on the record, but as we release the single tomorrow, we're also going to be announcing our next tour, which is in July. So June 30th through July 16th, we'll be on tour, mostly up through the Northeast. So we will be coming to Detroit. We'll be coming to Cleveland, Chicago, New
Beautiful.
York. Yeah, so we'll be hitting a lot of spots with Secret Shame, with Panic Priest, with
What?
Night. Yep.
With Night and Panic, that's a huge
yeah.
tour.
So
I love Jack. He's
Jack's
adorable.
he's one of my favorite people.
His
I love that
voice
man.
is like melted goth butter. I
It's-
love it.
It's incredible, and he's just such a sweet, funny person.
Yeah.
When we played Chicago in this last tour, we went to this place. Shit, what's it called? There's this there's this place, like this is a good parting story. We went to this like horrible karaoke bar, but it's like so bad that it's good. You go in there, and it looked like a bar like Cheers or something. It's like that. Clearly, that place had been a bar since like the 50s.
Right.
And it was just like they had this like kitchen, and we ordered these like nachos, but it was just like tortilla chips with like Velveeta cheese and like jalapenos.
Just a spray can.
It was just like, yeah, it was like hilarious, but it was also like so much fun. And they're open until like 4 in the morning or like 5 in the morning. So we were there all night. And yeah, Jack sang Depeche Mode, and it was just like, it was a perfect way to end a tour night. So
I always love when you go into like one of those open till 4 a.m. Chicago karaoke bars, inevitably there'll be some drunk young lady that'll be like, you know what? I could fucking nail Whitney Houston right now. And I'm like, no, girl, start small. You don't have to go straight for Whitney. I know I can't sing Whitney. What are you doing? Oh, okay, she's going to do it. I like your confidence. Belt.
Yeah. Oh, and we also do, it's funny we talk about karaoke real quick. One of our things that really helped us a lot of like just connecting with our audience, and this is sort of a tip because I know this is sort of a musician heavy community. Yeah. We do a thing called vision video karaoke a lot in the pandemic during the lockdowns, and we're going to bring it back as of like a couple weeks from now. But basically we would just do like, as on Twitch, and Emily and I would sing and Dan would curate it, and people would just like request songs. You know, so I'll leave everybody with a tip. It's just like find ways to genuinely connect with your audience, and like I said, vulnerability, showing them who you are, letting them in. You don't have to tell them everything. They don't need to like watch every waking moment of your day, but just like they want to know, if they like your music. They want to know who you are, and they want to know why that music matters to them. And learning you and learning who you are helps them understand why they love that music, and that strengthens that bond like really intensely. And that's how it should be. That's like the point of it, because nothing about me or Emily or anybody in the band or any musician ever is inherently more valuable than any other human being. But we need to start understanding that like it's a two-way road, and like you have to meet people halfway in order for them to understand you, and that's where you'll find connection, and you'll find success in that connection too. Beautiful.
Well, I am very excited now for the tour. That tour is sick. That's a sick stack lineup, but
it's wild.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
And we're now going to spin out to the vision video cover of The Cure's Pictures of You. This has been Ken, Katy, and Dusty from Sounds and Shadows, and keep it dark, yo.
See ya.
of you, but I never hope